Hello everyone. Recently, when I bought that Tommy, Thomas and Jeremy set, it kind of put me in a Tommy mood because not long after I managed to find and immediately bought one of the best Thomas toys ever, in my opinion. Honestly, I think it's up there with the Super Cruiser, and it's the Tommy Steamalong Thomas. And this is a fantastic item because I think it's the perfect example of how much Tommy understood what makes Thomas so appealing and which qualities they should put in a toy like this. Unfortunately, I didn't buy the complete set. The seller didn't have Clarabelle, but I don't mind because otherwise it's in nearly perfect condition. Everything works. It still makes lights. It still makes sounds. And it makes steam, which is awesome. So let's jump into the review. So this item was first sold in I think 2005, I think. Maybe 8, maybe that was only in some countries and then in 2008 it was somewhere else, I'm not sure. You'd have to check the wiki for that. So it wasn't really sold for that long. I would have assumed that this would have been available since like, I don't know, 2000. It just seemed like an item from, that was around for a long time, but apparently it wasn't, whatever. And yeah, it's basically a Thomas, which makes steam, but they added so many interesting things to it that it's just perfect, I guess. So, first thing that you probably notice is that Thomas is painted in this interesting metallic blue, which is also darker than his normal blue. Here's a comparison with a normal Thomas. I hope you can see it well on the camera. But yeah, this Thomas is shiny, this one isn't, this is a normal Thomas. And what's also interesting is that the bodies aren't quite identical. Like, obviously this has to be a different body because it doesn't have the motor switch and because this one doesn't have a normal motor but it has that steam thingy inside. And they tried to make it very identical to the original and they mostly succeeded, but there are still a couple minor differences. For example, you can see that the running boards, they don't exactly match up, and neither do the splashes. They're slightly different, and that's obviously not a complaint. I just think that it's kind of interesting. Another thing that's different is the face. Aside from the painted eyes, which I think were the norm by the time this was introduced, it also just has a different face in general, and I don't think it's the same face colored differently. I think it's a different face entirely, because if you look at the noses, this one has a kind of, I don't know, big nose, while the nose here is very flat. So it's also different faces. I don't know why they did that, but it helps make this item stand out a little bit more. And yeah, he has all of the right Thomas details. He has the windows and whistle, boiler stripes. He has a tail lamp. And what's interesting is that he doesn't have the rear lining that the regular Thomas does. But I guess that's because this one was introduced by the time that the show removed the rear lining. So I guess that's why. Also, he has a bigger co-load, that's interesting. Now, unlike most Tommy Thomases or Tommy products, this Thomas is connected permanently to Annie. And that's simply because the mechanism was too big and too complex to fit inside just Thomas. So Annie has the motor and the batteries inside. She's the one who pushes Thomas. And there is still some mechanism inside Thomas, which is powered by, I think, the batteries here, but it's also triggered by whenever the wheels move. And that makes him make sounds and emit steam. They are connected by this special coupling, which I don't think any other item has. It's very different from the usual couplings between, for example, powered up tender engines and their tenders, or something like that. Which is probably because this has to have these wires between the engine and the coach and all that. But it's very interesting. I really like this sort of coupling. It's very sturdy and versatile. So yeah, they did a good job with that. And as for Annie, I think that she is a different mold from the regular Tommy Annie, because there are some differences. I think she's also bigger, but I can't confirm that because I don't have a Tommy Annie, unfortunately. And one thing that is noticeably different is the face. I'm not sure how to describe it, but the face on the Tommy Steam Along Annie is kind of cleaner and more, I don't know how to say it. The original one had a little bit more of that season one, I don't want to say imperfection, but basically that it wasn't as smooth. This one is very smooth, if that makes sense. And I don't prefer either one, both are great. And yeah, nothing on the back, but that's okay. Inside you can see the motor. This is what she looks like underneath. And it's also interesting that they put these things on the black thing to give it a little bit more detail. Also, something that's interesting, Thomas has regular buffers at the front, but he has no buffers at all. While Annie, she has these tiny flat buffers on both sides, which is interesting. And yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to compare Annie with her CGI motorized Annie, the original one, because that's the only other Annie I have in motorized. And yeah, she's much longer, but that's simply Tommy in general. These newer items, they're a bit shorter, I think. So that doesn't really say much. And if I put Clarabelle behind, it looks fine. Like, it's serviceable. You could probably run Steam Long Thomas with a Clarabelle like this, but I don't know, it's just so different that I'm rather going to not use her for this video. And also, I'm also going to compare her Annie with a troublesome track from Tommy. Yeah, she's definitely a lot longer than most Tommy running stock. And side note, it's also kind of cool that even though I can't recreate the iconic Thomas Annie and Clarabelle consist, I can still sort of recreate the consist of that original wooden Thomas that Wilbur OJ made with that coach and troublesome track. But that's not important. So yeah, back to this item. I really like how they added all these other things to Thomas, that it's not just a Thomas who makes sounds, it's a Thomas who makes it's not just a Thomas who makes steam, it's also a Thomas who makes puffing sounds and braking sounds and whistle sounds. He just whistles every once in a while, which is so cool. He also has this light in his funnel which shows the steam more clearly. And that he's also this nice little metallic color. And that's so great because metallic items on their own are cool, but nothing really all that super amazing in my opinion. But when you combine it with a real steam item, suddenly it's something better than just two of those alone. Putting this special paint job on an item that is already special makes it stand out more, even when it's not being used, which is perfect, I think. And yeah, also, side note, his wheels aren't metallic. I feel like I should mention that. But yeah, I think that's about everything. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get the water inside, and then I'm going to show him running. So you have to put the water in this hole in the tanks. I'm glad that they put it exactly where it should be and not somewhere else. That's a really nice detail. And I'm not sure what would happen if you put the water in his funnel instead. I didn't test it just to be sure, but maybe you could do that. I'm not going to risk it. So you have to put the water here, and I don't have the water tower that came with that one of those sets that had Steam Long Thomas. And I'm not sure how exactly you are meant to put water there without it. I tried to just put some water there directly from the tap, but it's not working exactly perfectly. But it still works, you just have to dry him with a towel or something. And yeah, I think now is the time to see him in action. Alright, so this is my small little Tommy layout on the table. I didn't really want to have the complete set just on the floor, so I made it smaller and put it on my table, and I managed to have enough room for not only a complete check circle, but also something for Jeremy. But that's not important. Right now we want to see Thomas in action. And another thing that's pretty cool about him is that if you want, you can have him run around without him making steam. So, that's because Annie has this switch on the bottom. Hold on. Yeah, now you can see it. And that's what activates the steam mechanism. And if you leave it off, then this is going to be just a normal Thomas, basically. So yeah, that's without the steam. And now what happens when I activate him? He whistles, and then when I turn Annie on, the steam is most visible here. Whoa, look at that, that's really nice. So yeah, he also makes puffing sounds, and every once in a while he whistles on his own, and that's so cool. So now I'm going to leave him running on his own for a while. And you know what, I'm also going to activate Jeremy. What if I turn down the light? Yeah, now you can see the red light in his funnel a little bit better. And now I'm going to make him stop. That was really nice. I'm just going to turn the light on again because I think it's going to help. So yeah, it's designed so that if the wheels stop turning on the Thomas, then he's going to make a braking sound, stop puffing, and make one last cloud of steam. But then once the wheels start moving again, he's puffing again like nothing happened. And that's one of the reasons why I love him so much. And it's also nice that this item is really fast. Like, it's a lot faster than the average Tomy train. I'm going to show a normal Thomas running behind him to show how fast the steam along one is. Yeah, it's no contest. I wonder if the steam along Thomas is even faster than the extra fast streamline Thomas and shooting star and these kinds of items. That would be insane. And yeah, the coupling between Thomas and Annie works really well. I even tested it on this little Checkmaster 2 thing, which it wasn't designed for, but it seemed to manage fine, so yeah, that's also pretty cool. Huh, that's odd. Something went wrong. Huh. Wait, hold on. That's odd he didn't make that one last cloud of steam. I'm not sure if that's because he ran out of steam or if something else happened. I'm going to put more water inside him, and then I'm going to try it again so you can see it, because it's just amazing. Okay, so I hope I did this right. I hope I put enough water in, and I hope that's what the issue was. So now I'm gonna turn him on again. Yeah, he makes lots of steam. And now... Whoa, look at that cloud. That's amazing. I'm gonna try it again. And I think that's enough for now. So yeah, I heavily recommend that you get this item if you can, but only if it's in working condition. Because it's just amazing watching it run around a little layout. Even better if you have more tracks and some destinations and bridges and all that. I think it would look absolutely amazing on that, and I can't wait to hopefully be able to test that someday. So yeah, try to find him for a good price if you can, but I would recommend him even if you don't collect TOMY, because like I said, this is the perfect example of how much TOMY understood what makes Thomas so appealing. It's not some weird gimmicky variant that has some special thing that makes it jump into the air or anything like that. No, it's just a steam engine which makes steam and steam engine sounds. And it's super simple, yet it's exactly what you would want from a Thomas toy, because, you know, he's a steam engine who makes steam and makes steam engine sounds, and I think that's a big part of why we love this little blue engine. So yeah, and on top of that, it just has that usual TOMY, I don't know how to call it. It's just the usual well-made TOMY item, because I think TOMY is the best Thomas range overall. It has that great TOMY Thomas shape, lots of details on the coach, look at all that detail on Annie. It's just exactly what you could want from an item like this. So yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10 for, well, Devious Deeds and Brutal Strength doesn't quite match, but I would guess it is pretty strong with how fast it also is. So yeah, thank you for watching.